Fidel Rodriguez, The Room of Knowledge.
For those that are listening, this is The Room of Knowledge, Adventures in Consciousness. I'm Fidel Rodriguez with a good brother, a good friend, hermano in this journey, Javier Laval. Can I say it like that?
You can say it like
Is
that.
that right?
Or you could say Javier Laval. Or like we can flip it up. But yes.
I always feel schizophrenic going back and forth. But I think that's
That's perfect.
American colonization has done to our minds.
That's right.
Javier is also, he is the founder and creator of FutureStream.tv, a new platform that we're going to talk about later on in this discussion about adventures in consciousness. Also the former owner, and he is the founder or was the founder of footwear brand Android Homme, right?
That's right.
Clothing line, footwear.
Luxury footwear, launched in about 2008, way early in the space. Luxury street, all handmade in Italy, Portugal. Beautiful product. But yeah,
You said handmade in Italy.
That's right. You know, I was one of the first brothers to go over there, first Afro Latinos to go and kick in the door.
I love that. Okay, so look, we're going to get into some deep stuff today just in our conversations, but luxury footwear, explain that to me.
Yeah, I mean, luxury is a construct, right? And the assumption of luxury is that it's quality,
Okay.
right? And there's a price to pay for quality, right? So in fashion and in the brand that I had originated and created, I wanted to create a product, a footwear product for young professionals, businessmen that didn't want to wear traditional hard bottom shoes.
Okay.
They still wanted to wear a sneaker, but a luxury sneaker. So leather, rubber soles, you know, exotic fabrics and materials. And so
Look real fly.
real fly. And that was what I was able to accomplish. And you know, the shoes were made in Italy, which currently Italy is the place where a lot of the luxury items globally are made and distributed
For a very long time, right?
Yeah,
Clothing,
for
shoes,
sure.
Italian shoes, men's shoes,
That's
women's
right.
shoes.
Italian marble, Italian purses, Italian cars, Lamborghini, Ferrari. These, you know, it's a small, beautiful country that really kind of has just an affinity for handmade goods.
Okay.
And I think this all stems back from like the Roman Empire, you know, where this was something that traditionally they just carried forward.
Yeah.
And now it's translated as luxury goods.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, Javier, what I want, and I want to come back to this because
Sure.
I was blessed to be befriended by you through one of my close friends, DJ Orator Courtney,
Yes.
also known as Courtney.
Blessings to Orator and his beautiful baby.
That's right, man.
And his union with his wife. Yes.
Yes, of course, man. Big ups to Sarah as well. And yeah, I mean, he has when you guys were doing Gray Manor.
Yeah, Greystone.
excuse me.
Nightclubs. We did a lot of nightclubs, and he was resident DJ for me for many years.
Yeah.
And, you know, just got a lot of love and respect for Orator. He was somebody who came in as kind of like an intern and really just was consistent, persistent, and reliable.
Yeah.
And he was dope.
Yeah,
and he
of course he was
he
dope.
came up and he became, you know, one of the premier
DJs.
still one of the premier nightlife DJs in Hollywood. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we would have conversations because, you know, that wasn't my thing. I went a couple times to
Check
Gray
him out.
Manor and
Yeah.
and it was I was like, damn, okay, this is
Yeah.
on another level. Yeah, because, you know, I'm a little bit older, not that much older, but a little bit.
Wow.
But man, it was off the hook, you know, and to see him rocking, you know, the club that way was amazing. But we would have these conversations besides, you know, I only went, I think, twice, but he's like, you got to meet my friend Javier, man, bro, man, you two are, man, he knows about Ifa, he knows about the Yoruba, blah, blah, blah. And so finally we were able to kind of link up we were I think DMing each other about the sapo and about combo.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Combo medicine from South America, the Amazon, and the sapo medicine from Mexico. And anyways, long story short, we've been able to kind of, build a friendship and a brotherhood. And I wanted to have a conversation with you because you're breaking a lot of barriers, I think, especially for people of color, but especially for Afro Latinos and Latinos alike. And I want to hear your story because I think by us hearing our narratives, I'm a firm believer that our narrative is our humanity. And a lot of times, you're very humble. You know what I mean? And I love that about human beings when, it's like they carry themselves in a certain way with dignity and respect, not only for themselves, but for the people that are around. But then you start finding out stuff about, even your footwear, like Corey's talked about it, but I didn't, you've never told me about it and sat me down and said, oh man, this is kind of what, what I do. But let's start where you're from, where your family's from, before we kind of get into the artistic thing, which is still flourishing.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And so much, when Courtney had mentioned you and was like, you got to meet my mentor Fidel. And, he's a Ifa, priest and whatnot. I was like, man, I got to meet this guy. But it was all in divine timing. So
absolutely.
Thank you for having me here, and thank you for the invitation. Thank you for being who you are, man. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to be and share space with you.
Oh,
thank
Pleasure's
you.
Pleasure's all mine, man.
My family roots, kind of on, as far as I know, is my father is from Panama.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother on my father's side is from Martinique.
Okay.
So I think by way of Africa to the French island of Martinique, then to Panama, as, slaves to help build the canal.
Yeah.
And so I identify primarily as being Panamanian, and my mother is from Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Yeah, my mother is, they're both first generation immigrants from, Central America and the Caribbean. And, hablo español, that's my first language. Actually, I spoke Spanish before I spoke English. And yet, growing up in the Bay Area, San Francisco is where I was born, moved south towards kind of like Silicon Valley, a small city called Foster City in San Mateo. And that's where I grew up. And, it was a culture shock there.
Okay.
Because I didn't really have an identity, right? I grew up in a primarily white and Asian neighborhood, and I was a Black Latino, right? And so the few Black kids that I knew kind of were like, yo, are you Mexican? Like, I don't get it, and I didn't get it. I didn't really understand. And I'm talking, grade school, middle school. But, that was a journey all in itself, right? Because it was a lot of discovery in terms of who I am that had to happen at that time and space where I should have just been a kid, right? Just should have been playing outside and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then, stayed in the area until, it was time to move down south to LA. But before I moved, I was playing basketball. I was just kind of discovering life, and I had stumbled into the nightlife. And I stumbled into the nightlife because we had a basketball team that I was playing for, Skyline College, and I broke my wrist like first season, first game. I was a starting point guard, and we just had a winning season, and I didn't want to like disconnect from the team because I was no longer on the team, no longer on the roster because I was out for the season. And I started to throw after parties for the team, just kind of, I just wanted to be down and like make sure that we were celebrating our wins.
Right.
And that led, to a larger platform because a friend of mine had a father who owned a bar. He's like, man, you got a lot of people coming to these college after parties for the team. Maybe you can use my dad's bar. From there, it just exploded, and I became really well known in the Bay Area as a nightlife and promoter. But the thing that it afforded me at the time was the ability to work with emerging artists.
Okay.
And at the time, there were no power stations. You're well aware. It was college radio, KZSU Stanford, and Cal. And, some of the artists that I got to work with directly and indirectly is like B.I.G. and like Jay-Z, his first album, Nas, the Fugees, these Super Cat, Shabba Ranks. Like these were like first album, kind of like Alicia Keys. Like it's just all coming to me.
So these are hip hop clubs.
These were hip hop clubs. This was for the culture. And, they had to come through us in order to access the audience because there were no power stations. There clearly was no social media back then. So they had to tap in with the streets, street promotion, and I excelled in that space and made a name and moved down to LA.
Okay.
And in LA, I have a long history of doing nightlife, promotions, marketing. I was Usher's creative director for his OMG World Tour.
Okay.
His global world tour. I did all the design for him and his dancers, and worked really closely with him on that.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah, it was a stressful but incredible experience. I said I'd never do it again, but it was beautiful.
It was an experience.
It was an experience for sure.
So let me roll back real quick because you went through a lot of stuff. Now you said you moved from San Francisco to Silicon Valley, somewhere around that area, predominantly white, right, and Asian. Yes. So, and I'm asking this because I know there's probably all kinds of stuff in between that. You said identity. There was some identity stuff going on. Do you have to deal with racism? Do you have to deal with classism? What are some of the things the obstacles that you had to kind of endure because it got you somewhere, right?
For sure.
Because you're still connected, obviously doing hip hop, clubs and stuff.
Yeah, I think I did experience early signs of racism that I didn't really understand. So, for instance, in my fourth grade, I had a teacher, and I would turn in my homework, and for some reason I would get what's called a pink slip that says I didn't turn in my homework. And and this was crazy because I knew I did my homework. Latino households, get in trouble. You already know what that looks like. So I was like, so my parents were very much in my life. They're both still together, and they've always been together, now 50 years, I think. But they were, really about education and, and integrity. And so it caused some conflict because I was having a conflict saying, hey, I did this work, but I'm being treated as if I didn't do the work. Many years later, probably 5-6 years later, I was already like a senior in high school. Another black kid moved into the neighborhood. And, one day I was home, my parents were home, and the father came and knocked on our door. And he was like, man, you guys are the only black family I see in the area. Can I ask you some questions about the school? And I know your son went there. Find out that his son was having very similar issues and problems with this same teacher.
Wow.
So we found out, 6-7 years later that this teacher was a racist and he was targeting, black kids, which were very few and far between, maybe Latino kids, I don't know, and just making their life really miserable. And so that was my first experience with racism.
Okay.
And I didn't know how to define it. We didn't know how to clearly, because it was very subtle, and as an authoritative figure, a teacher, no one would suspect that they are, behaving in this way. Right.
Yeah.
So that was a challenging time. And also I have a very Spanish first name, Javier, and then my last name is Laval, which is French. And so it wasn't the usual Mike or John or Bobby. So I got, teased a lot, because I wasn't in a community that had heard that type of name
names,
before. Yeah. And so I had to knuckle up, really learn how to throw them early. And so I got in a lot of trouble early in life because I had to defend myself.
Okay.
I had to make sure that, you know, the bullies and these things wouldn't encroach in my space. And so that was kind of, you know, something that I just had to do in order to survive in that area. And even though it wasn't like a violent area per se, or the hood, it was a different type of energy and a different type of you know, kind of warfare.
Yeah.
If you,
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was kind of the early days.
No, I mean, I bring that up because, I mean, when you brought up Panama, right? Central America and then the Caribbean, obviously Puerto Rico, and you're a person of color, you're a man of color, and there's a lot of consciousness that's happening right now, obviously with race, always kind of like the elephant in the room in the United States, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And there's a show on right now. I know you haven't seen it yet, but it's called Exterminate All the Brutes, and incredible Raul Peck, I believe, is the director, and it just is dissecting white supremacy.
Wow.
From the foundation and the concept and the opinion of how race has manufactured itself out of Europe and over into the Americas and throughout the world, for that matter. And it's just making me look at things a little bit, not a little bit different. It's like, oh man, somebody's piecing all these ideas together that I've been on my own journey kind of to uncover. And like yourself, like I grew up in a poor area in a neighborhood in a hood in Santa Barbara, but very segregated amongst a lot of white people.
Right.
And so my understanding is, you know, probably a little similar. Granted, there was a lot of people of color at my high school and in my neighborhood, but there's always that, you know, there's just things that happen that you don't have like you don't have an understanding about things.
Right.
You know, I think we had talked about the Malcolm X book a while back.
That was a book that changed my life, changed my perspective.
Why?
Because I'd never heard of it. You know, my father is, you know, if you saw him walking around, he might as well pass for Nigerian. You know, like he's a black man. Yeah, he's
okay.
No denying his roots.
Right.
Not even close. Right. But he spoke Spanish primarily in the home. He listened to salsa music.
Yeah.
Merengue, cumbia, like, you know, anything from the Latin diaspora. He was even world music, you know, reggae.
Yeah.
Never really quite identified with the Black American, right? He was a Afro Latino, right? And so that was clear. So, you know, in our house, never really heard Smokey Robinson or, you know, soul music.
Yeah.
Right. And so I didn't really understand the plight of the African American as described by Brother Malcolm. Never even understood that, you know, had never been exposed to that. So when I read that at, you know, 14, 15 years old, it was mind bending, like, whoa, because I had felt it. I had experienced it, like I said, in grade school.
Yeah.
And I had, you know, discovered that term racism, right? But no one had ever really kind of like encompassed it. Yeah, broken it down in the way that Malcolm X did in his book, the autobiography, where I got it, right? And that sent me on a whole other journey.
What kind of journey was that?
That journey, I'm still on that journey. You get what I mean? Like, it sent me on a journey of self-discovery, you know, a journey that has brought me through so many different iterations of self, starting with who am I in this construct?
Okay.
Right? And what I mean by that is I'm a Black man in America with, you know, Latino roots, that speak Spanish, right? Like these constructs, layers, right? These layers that say, okay, this is who I am. That was like level one, right? Like level one is trying to define who you are by society's standards, right? Because I didn't really have a definition. And that, you know, took me to like being the vice president of the Black Student Union. And, you know, and yet, you know, things like that, you know, kind of I had applied to black colleges. So I had got accepted to Howard University, Morehouse. I went and visited those campuses and ultimately decided not to go because I knew that I wouldn't get any work done.
Oh.
It was such a like
Wow.
it was such a I had some real kind of like restraint back then because I knew that I was just gonna go party,
While out.
Yeah. Like girls, like it was just gonna be because I'd never been around that many black people, right? I'd never seen that many black people in a concentrated area that were professional, that were in school studying,
studious,
so that was kind of the journey. I opted out only because I realized that it was a little overwhelming for me.
Okay.
In a good way, but I had went during like Freaknik. Remember Freaknik in Atlanta?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, holy, this is crazy. Like,
Wilding out.
it was wild out. And I just felt like, this, that wasn't probably the best place for me at that time.
Okay. Now I could have swore you did you play ball?
I played basketball and football in high school.
Right.
Yeah. And I played basketball in college, but I got injured and that was the end of my career.
Okay, so then how does the art stuff come in? Because obviously to be able to design a shoe, you got to be able to draw. And I haven't heard you mention any of that in the midst of everything.
Well, this is the thing, these different iterations of self, I started to understand new concepts about creating your own reality.
Okay.
Right. This was a concept that I started to really kind of tap into when I was like, 25. I was already in LA. Like, this is who society says I am, but this is who I want to be.
Okay.
Right. And in that I explored a lot of different theosophical concepts, philosophies, religious ideologies, and also creative endeavors. Like, what does it look like for me to be creative and express myself through creativity? And that's how I ended up just kind of going for it and launching a footwear brand. I'd always loved sneakers, always loved fashion, and it was something that just resonated with me at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so but did you draw?
No, I'm self-taught.
Are you?
Yeah, I really feel like I'm kind of divinely guided and perceptive with the things that I open myself up to.
Okay.
Right. So I feel like I can learn and do anything if I want to. Right. And so design, I'm self-taught. I learned all the programs, all the Adobe suite, everything without ever taking a class. Yes, on my own, right?
You sound like my cameraman, Adam. He's always on YouTube and he's like, I just went on YouTube and figured it out.
And the beauty about it is that there was no YouTube when I had learned to do all of this.
Yeah.
This was like early 2000s, late, like this was kind of, you had to go to school for this, and to be a graphic designer. But, I cut my teeth on designing flyers, right? Because remember, we go back to the clubs.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I got this idea for a flyer. And I didn't really look at it as like being creative or doing art. I just looked at it as like, I got an idea.
Okay.
And I want to manifest this idea with the computer. So would mess around with like Print Shop Pro, which is like, super old program and things like that, just to make the flyer, and I had so much joy in like designing a flyer and then seeing it printed out and then putting them on cars, seeing them up, everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, that's dope,
Yeah.
But that was my first kind of creative endeavor and exploration into that realm for myself.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I just, because I remember for those that are even the logo for the Room of Knowledge, like I remember we were at my house and I had made that on some program. I can't remember the name of the program, but it wasn't lined or anything like that. It was just kind of something I conceptualized. And I remember I remember asking you that one time. I think I went down to your warehouse or your office in downtown.
Yeah.
And I asked you, man, was it cool? And you said, I want to do anything. I was like, man, I hope this dude's not BSing. And I say that because when I went to your office, I was like, okay. I said, man, okay, I guess it's okay. And then you came over and you assisted me in turning the Room of Knowledge logo into a piece of art that I could have a animator actually animate it for me.
Right.
And you did it in like 20 minutes while we were talking. And so I say that to say is, again, this is not just symbolic, but I feel like especially for young kids of color in the hood, not in the hood, to be able to hear that, like, I mean, you didn't take classes, but you were following, you said you were following this divine insight, right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Because again, we living in a very traumatic society right now, right? And the saying goes is that we have had our souls filled with so much mierda, so much garbage, so much BS that has disconnected us to the essence of who we are.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
Which I believe is that gut feeling which allows us to be in that divine state of mind that you're talking about. So talk about that. Even for the young person that's out there listening right now that's at home drawing or doesn't, explain that.
Yeah, I mean, great question. And I think that the way I can clearly hear that voice or feel that feeling is when it doesn't make sense. School, education wants to make sense of everything.
Okay.
There's a way to do it. There's a system. There's protocol. There's all these things that make sense. And if you don't do it that way, then either it's not going to be successful or you can't do it. Right. But for those that are out there that may not have the privilege of going to school or higher education, I mean, a lot of the innovators in all spaces are high school dropouts. Or college dropouts. I mean, Steve Jobs and some of these other guys, like we can run a whole list.
Right.
Because the way you think as someone that's led by spirit and someone that's led by intuition is very different because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. There's a lot of fear, right? When you feel that that heat in your body that goes, man, this is scary, or I don't know if I can do it. Yeah. That's you want to lean into that.
Yeah.
You want to follow that feeling that traditional models will tell you to stay away from, right? And that's how I measure it. I go, man, I want to do this, but I'm scared, shit. I don't know if I can do it. Yeah, I got all. Yeah, if I can check off all those boxes, then I can say, okay, then that's what I need to do.
Okay. So you said a system, right? So I was writing down left brain, right brain, right? Left brain would be considered linear, right? Would be
more analytical,
right. Logical, reading, writing, all the things that most of our ancestors, right? And I'm speaking of people of color's ancestors. I mean, even people from Europe, we have been conditioned in this left brain, right? So you're going back to this intuitive nature, which is very right brain.
For sure.
Intuition, the spirit, artistic, creativity,
right?
Right? All these things. And I feel, and you let me know, like, has this system that we're living in even now gotten even a word, taking us to a place where we are disconnected from that divine essence and that divine intuitive. Yeah,
without a doubt, brother, without a doubt. And when you really start to understand energy, frequency, vibration, consciousness, you start to understand why and how, right? So everything is energy, everything is a frequency, right? So this feeling that we get, whether it's fear or love, is just a vibration, right? And it resonates within us, or does not, right? Let's say it's impossible for something to not resonate; it just doesn't feel as good, right?
Yeah.
Nonetheless, when we realize that a lot of the things that we're going through and that we're subjected to is deliberately designed to disrupt our vibration.
Okay, wait. Say that again.
A lot of the
I'm sorry.
no, it's all good. A lot of the things that are deliberately happening and we're experiencing in this reality are designed to disrupt our vibration. And in that, if you understand what those tools, mechanisms, and methods are, then you can divert, you can shift, you can move through the matrix, still maintaining a high vibration, still connected to source.
Okay.
That is the path. That's the skill that I've learned, the skill that I'm still learning, right? Because any master will tell you that they're not a master, they're still a student. So that's the skill that I'm still mastering, is moving through this minefield of disruption and distractions that are only there to lower my vibration.
Okay.
Whether it's food, music, television, politics, let's call it the medicine, right? The pharmaceutical, drugs, alcohol, right? There's all these things that we've normalized, right? We just say, oh, I'm just taking pills, or I'm just having a drink. Hey, I'm just gonna have this burger, right? Like, we've normalized all these low vibrational methods that will then prevent you from connecting to source, so that you can live and lead that life that you were designed to lead and live.
Okay. And again, I just explain low vibrations and high vibrations, just in the simplest terms.
Low vibration, as I understand it, is rooted in the lower chakras, right? And what that means to me is resentment, hate. If we're talking nutrition, it's dead food.
Okay.
Right. Food that is in a package or GMO, right? And high vibration is the feeling of love, right? The feeling of excitement, the feeling of creativity, the feeling of accomplishment. If we're talking food or nutrition, we're talking living foods, right? So blueberries, avocados, plant-based meals and things of that nature. And so when we look, if we were to just do kind of like an assessment, right? Because I think in both creative and business, right? So if we were to do an audit, right, of our life and our lifestyle, just in a day, we could probably measure where we are on a vibrational scale.
Okay. How significant is it for us, especially coming out of this pandemic? Oh, I'm sorry, I meant pandemic. For us to do that assessment in terms of, is this not the perfect time for us to do that assessment of what we're eating, what we're allowing on our minds, how much time we're on social media, et cetera, et cetera?
I don't recall. I'm in my 40s. I don't recall a better time that I've ever been alive to really take inventory on your lifestyle, inventory on your environment, right? There's studies by like Dr. Joe Dispenza and other notables that really kind of illustrate scientifically what your thoughts and your environment do to your body, right? Creates dis-ease, creates different maladies that we oftentimes just turn to the doctor. One of the things that people may not know or haven't known is that I suffer from a really severe immune deficiency. For many years, when I was in the nightclubs and I was in a low vibrational environment, You get what I mean? And I was also a high priest, you know, in the Yoruba pantheon, and I was kind of living a double life.
Yeah, it was like juxtaposed.
Yeah,
with-
like, you know, on one end I got to wear white and keep myself really clean and cleanse, and on the other end I'm in the darkest of nightclubs with, you know, the killers and the pimps, the hoes, and everybody else, right? Not saying everybody in a nightclub is like that, but you know, the energy overall, even the music, you know, I'm listening. It's primarily hip hop, popular hip hop primarily is filled with aggressive overtones and undertones.
Low vibrational music,
Murder, rape, sex, you know, low consciousness, right? And so this tug of war ended up taking a toll on me, and I had to, you know, release my connection to that environment, that space, that place, and heal myself.
Okay.
And I had to heal myself completely naturally.
Okay. And hence getting to a place of higher vibrational tools, so to speak. That's right?
You know, because one of the things that Dr. Sebi said is rest that, you know, disease, rest in peace, disease cannot exist in an alkaline environment.
Okay. What is alkaline?
Alkaline, in my opinion, is high vibration.
I got some alkaline water.
I got some alkaline water, right? And so alkaline, by definition, in my world, is high vibration. Acidic, by definition, in my world, is low vibration.
Okay.
Right? So you can have an acidic environment. You know, this word goes around toxic, right? Oh, this relationship is toxic.
It's toxic, right?
This environment is toxic. That's just another definition for low vibration, right? Low frequency.
It's a synonym.
Yeah. This environment is dope. It's beautiful. It's exciting. That to me is just a definition of high vibration. And so that's kind of how I see it and how I've been able to really clearly define the spaces that I move in.
And I was going to, you know, I'm looking up because, you know, when you say alkaline, so they also say an alkalized body will also not get cancer, right?
Correct. So an alkalized body, but see, what I've learned in my self-healing journey is that it's mind, body, spirit, right? We can't, you can't get rid of the triumvirate of life, right? Because without spirit, there is no body.
Right.
Without mind, there is no body.
Yeah.
Right. And mind actually connects to spirit so that it can be manifested through the body. Right. So we are who we are because all three of those are working in tandem.
Yeah.
So if one is out of balance, we're going to feel out of balance.
Yeah.
Right. And so balancing mind, body, spirit raises your vibration.
I love that, man. And hence the yin and yang. In whether it's Taoism or acupuncture for that matter, my consciousness on what I am putting in my body has gone to a different level, right? I can honestly say at the age that I'm at in my life, I feel more active, more alert, more conscious, more energy. I mean, I work out every day. I have fun. And I'm just like, because
full of energy,
and hence getting back to what you said with the alkaline foods. So avocados I eat every day, bell peppers, arugula, zucchinis, olives. If you're listening to this and you don't understand what alkaline foods are, just Google it. Yeah. Look it up.
And the one thing that you'll notice about all those things that you mentioned is you pull them right out of the ground or right from a tree.
Out of Mother Earth?
Out of Mother Earth, straight to your plate, right? And there, you know, there are theories that say that we shouldn't even be using these plates. We shouldn't be using silverware. We should be using our hands. Right? And so, but there's levels to this, right?
Well,
so
what's the trip? And here's where I'm very happy where we're going with this because again, okay, let's go back to that series that I was telling you about. Exterminate all the brutes, right? Colonialism. When you really start digging in, took all these cultures, right? And we can look at colonialism in 1000 ADs, which the Church of England, the Catholic Church were disconnecting, right? Those indigenous Europeans from Mother Earth, right?
Sure.
And then hence, in 14th century, 1400s, it happened here, it happened in Africa. Disconnecting, right? And we can just say it's in simplicity, what we're just talking about, alkaline foods has disconnected people to alkaline foods, which is putting them out of balance. And now we're drinking water out of plastic bottles. We're eating fast foods,
BPA,
food meats that are not honored are being injected with hormones and steroids and genetically modified organisms, etc. So is a decolonizing paradigm, a decolonizing of the mind, really what we're talking about? Because it's getting us back to what we're talking about in terms of high vibrations.
That's right. I think you kind of touched on something that I think is really important, and I want to make a point that the greatest atrocity that I believe has happened to humanity is separating it from nature. Right? We can talk about war and we can talk about all these different things, but they're all because we have disconnected from nature, right? Because we have somewhere along the line, the Europeans determined that we were separate from nature, right? Because in all African, not all, but a lot of the African diasporic religious systems or ancient beliefs, we were part of nature.
Yeah.
We were a member, a family. We were one with nature, right? It was only until after kind of the Roman conquest that we became separate
disconnected
from nature, right? And in separating yourself from who you are, right? Because we are, even in the Bible, it says we were made of mud and dirt. You get what I mean? And so separating yourself or allowing yourself to be separated is the atrocity. Now, the beautiful thing about it is you can just go reconnect, because Mother Nature is abundant. It just says, come back home, right? Come back to me, and this is where you heal, right? So for instance, like grounding is a technique that, if you look back at the ancients and the indigenous, they were barefoot, right? Even still to this day, barefoot. Yeah. And, a lot of us wouldn't be caught. We can't even go outside without our shoes on, right? Yeah. Rubber soles, disconnecting from Mother Earth, right? There's something in between, something that's not natural in between our connection. And we're okay with that because we have been led to believe that that's normal.
We've been conditioned.
That's right. But that's not normal, right? And so connecting with Mother Earth, even through taking in plant medicine or plant-based foods, is the fastest way towards healing the trauma. That's what I believe is the magic pill, right? We're all looking for the magic pill. Yet, there is nothing in nature that she hasn't already seen, done, experienced, conquered, conquest, right? And so whenever I'm feeling off balance, mind, body, or spirit, I just go back to nature, spend some time with my feet in the sand, in the ocean, in the river. This is the place of deep generational healing.
She holds all the medicine.
All the medicine. I mean, even the pharmaceutical medicine that they distribute and sell to us today, its origin is a root or a plant. They just manufacture it. Yeah, they synthesize it and manufacture it. They come out, now becomes, it's not what it was. It's a perverted version of what
sold to us.
Yeah.
As the magic.
It's a soulless pill.
Yeah.
When we can just go right to source, right to soul, and so that's been part of my journey.
So let me ask you, Javier, so we are being over bombarded right now, right? With technology, right? And you have kids, I have kids. I work with young people, and I don't know what I see, man. I trip out. I have to sit in the moment because I'm like, man, are human beings being indoctrinated on another level that is taking them even to be further disconnected of what you just have shared with us and being connected to the earth.
Absolutely. This is a very clear agenda, in my opinion, right? To transhumanize, dehumanize humans, right? Use humans as an energy source, right? So if you look at it holistically, you realize that we're just energy bodies, right? And we allocate X amount of energy to a corporation. That's called a job. We allocate X amount of energy to a school. That's called an education, right? But really what we're doing is just burning energy. Our thoughts, our body is in this place, right? And even when we leave, our thoughts are in this place, right? And so what's happening now with technology is they're just taking this into the next stage. So that was kind of like version 1. Version 2 is really about taking our consciousness, right? So there's a lot of talk about AI. There's talk about, Elon Musk technology, Neuralink, this is going to extract our consciousness and put it in the cloud, put it in the metaverse, put it somewhere else, but we're going to power it with our bodies
in our minds,
right? Wow. And the ultimate goal, and I think there was something that really struck me in the Matrix, right? I love the Matrix.
I was just gonna bring that up.
And one of the things that out of everything that stood out was when Neo went to go see the Grand Architect, right? He got to the Grand Architect, a bunch of TV screens. He saw all his lives, and the Grand Architect said, this is just the way it is. We designed it like this, right? And there's nothing you can do about it. And this is the 7th version, and we're going to do it again, right? And so that really actually brought me a lot of peace because it made me really kind of understand that this is just the realm of which we live in right now.
Right now, yeah.
There are so many different realms, right? This 3rd dimension, 4th, 5th, 6th, that it brought me a lot of peace to understand that this is the rules of the game in this dimension. And the rules of the game in this dimension is all about duality. And so where there's love, there's going to be hate. Where there's peace, there's going to be war, right? So a lot of us, kind of that really have connected to the light, kind of just want to create peace everywhere, and everyone should have peace. And that's possible, just not here. Right? In this reality, it's possible here.
Yeah.
Right? And you create that peace.
And when you say here, you're speaking inside of the mind.
Internal.
Inside.
And every sage, every prophet has come and said the same thing. Right? Save yourself.
Know thyself.
Know thyself. Heal thyself. Right? And not many of us have learned the lessons of the prophets and the sages because we're busy trying to save everyone else, save the world, save each other. And it's like there's nothing to save but yourself.
Save yourself before you can save others.
That's right. And so that's brought a lot of peace. Doesn't take me away from like feeling empathy and compassion and contribution and helping. And, that's part of the human journey, right?
Yeah.
Is to participate in those experiences, and fully immerse yourself in those experiences, yet knowing that, this is, you're just doing what you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me ask you, so God, man, you breaking down the architect that way, it's got me thinking about a lot of stuff. But one of the things I wanted to ask you in getting a better clarity and an understanding and even being in that non-duality place, right? And understanding that, how significant has, again, getting back to plants and plant-based medicines, assisted you in getting a better clarity of everything that is happening right now, right? And
it's been literally, I think, you our union and our communion has been beautiful, and one of the things that you brought me into that has been one of the most magical, just one of the best experiences of my life was with the Sapple, right? And you and Renee and Shay and beautiful people, led me through ceremony to experience the toad. And I mean, the toad is like, it takes you, it took me to where I felt like I was God. I was everything and nothing at the same time.
Oneness.
I was oneness, and there was no duality where that took me, right? It just is. I was just, there was no I, right? I keep trying to humanize it. I keep trying to explain something from a higher vibrational realm in human terms, but everything I say is not accurate, right? Yeah. Because there is no explanation. You can't define God. You can't describe God. You can't and in that space, that's who I am. And so even the affirmations of I am, right? That is the affirmation. I am that I am, right? There is no I am beautiful and I am, we have added these things, right? As descriptive terms to kind of help us push through limitations. But in reality, I just am. That's it.
Because we are.
That's it.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Hence the terms, like whether it's the Mexico or the Mayan, in la quech, you are the other me, right? Mitacue o yasin, all the relations, right? Relations to the plant nations and the insect nations and the winged nations. And it's like that experience, what I feel like, almost, I mean, I'm equating the red pill with the sapo, with the hongos, the teonanacats, ayahuasca, sananga, all these different medicines that for some reason or another are all coming out now and through many different people, while simultaneously the technology realm is pushing, trying to get humanity to be in a certain materialistic form. And Mother Earth is saying, well, we got to also have this going. That's right. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, because, the plant and natural energy is all about la tierra, like being the earth. The earth, it's arrogant for us as humans to think that we can do this to the earth without repercussion, right? And so I think what's happening with technology is potentially what legend says happened in ancient Atlantis, right? The arrogance of the people or the humans at the time, or the ascended beings at the time were, overly arrogant and disrespecting the planet, and ultimately did things and created things to obliterate themselves, right? Because I believe Mother Nature is here to facilitate, to collaborate, right? Like Mother Nature is our greatest collaborator, and yet we treat it with so much disrespect.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we were just talking about food and fruit, and like it's just so abundant, it gives and gives and gives, and yet we abuse it.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching this documentary about fish, and it started out with all the plastic that are run rampant throughout, Yemaya, right? The ocean, or
Yeah, for
Lokun.
sure.
And with everything that we're talking about, this consciousness, especially with the medicines and stuff, when I watched that, it's very hard. I mean, to try, it's not hard, but it's like the pessimism. I was like, damn, it's really bad. You know what I mean? What do you see in terms of materialism, right? Because this plastic bottle, I'm holding a plastic bottle right now, is made from oil, from gasoline, right? From petroleum.
Right.
It's the excess, chemicals
Fossil
they don't
fuels.
use. Yeah. And this is riddled in the ocean, and it's going into all the fish, right? And then we're eating all the fish, and then it's going inside of us, and then people are getting sick. And this is essentially a carcinogen. It's like a cancer-causing agent, and it's kind of like it. And I'm a very optimistic person. In fact, the Sapo has taken me to a place where these material objects that I'm holding are all part of me too, because these are made from the universal materialism, right?
Yeah, I think that, the beauty about the earth and nature is that it's gonna far outlive us, right? Like when I'm able to take a macro view, right? So when you're in the microcosm, you pay attention to all these details, and all of this matters. But when you pull the lens back and look at the planet and look at the earth from where divinity sees it, right? From this wholeness, this is just a blip in time, right? And the earth is going to regenerate. We're going to destroy ourselves. We'll be gone. The earth is
Earth will still be here.
It might take 100 million years, right? But there's no such thing as time.
Say that again.
There's no such thing as time. We created the construct and the concept of time. Yes. So Mother Nature's going to take the time to regenerate, reestablish, reset, and do it all over again. We just won't be there to witness. We won't be a part of that system, right?
Yeah.
And so that also just lets me understand, okay, well, this is just part of the program. And, could we all scale back and pull back and, do things to kind of help? Of course, we should and we can. Yet I think in totality, it's not enough. Won't ever be enough as long as humans are here having this experience.
So let me ask you this. We're talking about high vibration, and how do we have the power as people, as human beings individually, to raise our vibration to a point that we can affect each other to raise a vibration and consciousness to be able to shift some of these things? Do you believe that?
I do. And I think we're doing that. I just don't believe that it can be everybody all at the same time, at the same time space, right? So everybody gets there at a certain time. And so I think that's what we see generation after generation is some ancestors there, some not, some, in our generation, some of us are there, some not. That's kind of the rhythm, right? It's an ebb and flow.
Ebb and flow, yeah.
And so, that's a pattern that nature created, right? Ebb and flow. So we who are we to disrupt that ebb and flow, right? That's just part of the nature of our reality.
Yeah.
Ups and downs, positive and negative, like it works together, like a heartbeat, it goes up and down. So for a split second, you're alive, and a split second, you're dead, and if that heartbeat doesn't physically, if it doesn't go like, you flatline, but it keeps going. It has an ebb and flow until it's time, it's a beat, and there's a rhythm to this life. And part of that rhythm is the ups and downs, and the good times and the bad times, and the good food and the bad food, let's call it, right? The good people and the bad people, like all of this. And at any point in our time, we fit into one of those categories. I'm not an angel, right? To some people I might be a bad guy. I don't know. Yeah. Some people I might be a saint, right? But that's all because we're allowed perception.
Yeah.
We're allowed to kind of look at life and say, all right, this is what we perceive.
Let me ask you something. So there was a book years ago that had come out. It was called The Mayan Factor, right? getting back to the Mayans and to the Atlanteans, and the subtitle was Path Beyond Technology. And what the hypothesis is that the Mayans left because they knew human beings were going to fall in love with materialism and move away from God, from Creator, right? So with that being said, technology is going to do what it's going to do, right? Because I'm going to watch you. There's no stopping it.
Yeah,
and that's my next quick chapter I want to get in with you with NFTs and with even FutureStream.tv.
Sure, yeah.
How important as light workers, as people that are trying to assist humanity and be optimistic and put love into the world, to put that into whether it's the social media venue or the YouTube venue or these new platforms that are being created, can that have an effect on changing the vibration of humanity?
Absolutely, man. I think, if we look at, we want to and should bring light to dark places and dark spaces, right? So some people look at, let's say YouTube, right? YouTube, there's so much content, everything from whatever, but what also is on YouTube? Meditations, guided meditations. There's affirmations. There's thought leaders in the spiritual and metaphysical space that are uplifting people, and there's light there as well. And then you can quickly change the channel and be in a whole dark zone with other vibrations and other things happening. So I think that the worst thing that we can do is to reject the inevitable. Okay. We want to inject ourselves in the inevitable so that there's representation in that space. Yeah. Right? We don't that's I think the fault of a lot of light workers and people is that they want to disconnect from the inevitable, but all they do is just disconnect from their ability to shift that within there, within that space. And so I think in the old times you could just go to the mountains, right, and just meditate and just disappear.
I still do.
Yeah, exactly. Right. As do I. And then you come back here. Yeah, yeah. And you gotta get on your phone. Recharged. Yeah, you gotta get on your phone. You gotta send an email, a text, right? You gotta send a bill electronically. You know, and that's kind of so what's happening in the space of technology is the technologists are creationists, meaning that they have an idea, a concept. So think of video games, right? Video games, movies, these are just people at a table that say, man, let's create something. So they write a script.
That they're getting down from the ether.
They're getting downloaded, right? Okay. They're being influenced by different energies, and they write this down. Then they start to code it in a language, right? It's called coding, language, programming language. So then they program this program, right? And it tells it to do this. And when you click here, it does this, right? All this stuff starts to happen. This is, I think this is the act of God, right? This is how the Creator created. And because we are God, we are just simply doing that in the I don't even know how to explain it. Like we're doing the exact same thing, just in a different way.
We're expressing it.
We're expressing our creativity, our expression. And because where I experienced God, there was no good or bad, right? It's just God. It's just it's everything. It's just an expression. And the metaverse is what they're calling this new space.
Say it again. The
metaverse.
Metaverse.
So we live in the universe. This is real life. And now there's a new place called the metaverse. It's called on the blockchain. The blockchain infrastructurally feels a lot like the what is this called? The Akashic records.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And anybody that's not familiar with the Akashic records, do a quick Google search, but it's basically a place, a space, in the ether, right? In the air, the cloud, where everything is recorded. All the data, everything that you've ever done, I've ever done, anyone, ancestors, it's all in the Akashic records. And these records are available for us to download.
They're binary codes.
There it is.
Which is Ifa, which is the divination system. Okay, I'm sorry. I
It's boom, boom. It's all connected.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what they're creating is a metaverse.
That's what blockchain is.
That's what blockchain is.
Why you always explain these high concepts to me in a way that I'm like, oh man, that was so simple. Okay, that's what blockchain is.
That's blockchain. Like Akashic records.
Oh, that's so okay.
A way to keep record of of data.
Okay.
Right? And who that data belongs to. Okay. Right? Who originated that data. Yeah. So NFTs are art, right? In the metaverse, digital art that, let's say I did. Yeah. And I put it into the blockchain. Okay. I upload it into the metaverse. And now it has my signature on it. Okay. It has my code. Okay. And so when you go to take a look at that artwork or you go to download it or purchase it, my DNA is in that. And it'll never be gone. It lives in the blockchain forever into infinity. So there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of technical talk and spiritual talk about the blockchain and what's going to be able to happen for ancestors that come back. They're going to be able to access the blockchain and see who did what and what they did in a past life and who and where, right? There's going to be all of this data that's accessible, right? Okay. And so if you meditate, you realize that you can just download this information, who you were, where you came from, what star system, you know what I mean? Like, right? Enough meditation gives you access to the Akashic records, the blockchain of where your fingerprint, your blueprint, your DNA resides.
Yeah, being in the alpha state.
There it is.
Download that
information. And so I like, so even my first brand, like Android Homme, it was robot man is how that translates. Android is a robot, right? With human skin like the Terminator. And Homme is man in French. And so my father being of French descent from Martinique, it was all about reprogramming, changing, it's codes. It's code. Robot man, Android Homme. And, the tagline was reprogram now. So I was selling luxury goods and selling sneakers, but it was all about the message.
It was subliminal message, right?
Subliminal message. You
just have to decode it.
You got to decode it, and a lot of people didn't get it. But I had the flower of life as the soul, right? The flower of life is the soul.
It's the soul of the shoe,
right? And it was the soul of the shoe. So for every step that somebody took, they were imprinting the flower of life back into nature. Like it was all these different concepts that kind of went way. Well, I was too early. It went over a lot of people's heads, but
it's out there.
That's it.
It doesn't matter if
it's out there. Yeah, it's in the Akashic records.
Okay, so how are people? Just give me a quick summary of how people are making money off NFTs or have a potential to.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So NFTs it's a new space and a new place. The way people are making money now is they are doing exactly what they've been doing. So let me paint a picture for you. There's a graphic artist, there's a photographer, there's a rapper. They make art. And what they do traditionally is they just put it on Instagram for free. It's a little JPEG and they go, and you get likes, right? The currency is social currency. Likes, follows, right? Boom, you're good. The blockchain allows you to do that exact same thing, take that exact same image, that exact same song, that exact same everything, and what's called mint it on the blockchain. Okay. What that does is it creates a store of value, right? It becomes an asset because it's traceable, right? Meaning, if I take a screenshot of something you posted and it goes everywhere, no one knows that Fidel Rodriguez did this. Right? Maybe some people know, some people don't. Might end up on a billboard somewhere. You have no way to track this, right? Whereas on the blockchain, it's trackable from day one, and you're able to receive a royalty for it. So what they've created is a metaverse where art now has value into perpetuity, right? And so a perfect example of the difference between kind of the traditional model for art and the NFT model is, let's take Basquiat, right? Basquiat was known to sell and give away his art. Just give it away, sell it for $100, only to end up at Sotheby's for $50 million, right? But Basquiat as an artist, his family, they only got that first payment, that $50, that $100, right?
Yeah.
As an NFT, his family, his trust would have made money every single time that painting was sold. So generational wealth is the opportunity in NFTs.
And can this can change the financial well-being of people that are marginalized?
Absolutely, because the barrier to entry is just knowledge. It's no longer a financial barrier to entry.
Okay.
Meaning, if you know how to do NFTs, you know how to mint NFTs, which just takes a little bit of research, a little bit of aggressive understanding, then you can
diligence,
mint it yourself, market it yourself, and make the money yourself.
So if you're a young person that's listening right now and you're an artist of some caliber, you can create and then mint it.
That's it. And there's tons of websites, OpenSea.io, Rarible.com. We did something with Lupe Fiasco last night, actually, an NFT with him on OriginProtocol.com. And it's artwork. It's what our people love to do for free. Like we're artists, we're dancers, we're rappers, we're singers, we're fine artists. We're every type of art can now be minted as an NFT, held in the blockchain as a record of that, right? So even if you're just keeping record and you're not selling it, and or you can list it as an asset and have people bid and buy it, they resell it, you make money every time they resell it. It's brilliant.
So this can create a paradigm shift in economic status
Absolutely.
for people.
A lot of early people in the community feel like this is our reparations.
Okay.
This is our opportunity, because
right.
the thing with our people is we want the oppressor to give us something.
Yeah.
We want it's almost kind of like, I look at it as like someone, it's called the human race, right? I forgot, there was somebody I heard say this, so I'm quoting somebody. It's not my theory, but they said it's called the human race for a reason, and these people are leading the race, right? They're winning the race, and so if you run a race, when do you ever stop and let other people catch up? When do you ever stop and help somebody catch up? When do you ever stop a race and everybody come in at the same time?
Yeah.
And that's why it's never happened. That's why I don't believe it will ever happen, because it is a human race. And at the core, it's all about survival, right? And so the European realized early that the genetic blending of cultures would exterminate them.
And we're
holistically
seeing that right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So being genetically inferior, which has no context to intellect or ability, it just means that the gene and the genetics is recessive, right? Means that someone of color that mates with someone of a recessive gene will take over that genetic pool, right? And their children will come out Black, Latino, Asian, brown, Indian, right? And so they realized this early and said, we can't allow that, because this is our survival. If we allow natural process to take place, we will be extinct.
They created all these myths.
They created the myths. They created the atrocities. They invaded the cultures, And so we often ask, well, why did the Africans be enslaved? What about the indigenous people? People were just left alone. But this group couldn't afford to just leave it alone.
Yeah.
They had to invade. They had to destroy. They had to control it.
Yeah.
So now what you're seeing with these same colonizers is they're trying to colonize Mars. And the moon, because they got to get the fuck out of here soon because time is not on their side. So
that's some wicked shit right there, man.
So let us destroy the planet. Let us poison the earth. Let us oppress everyone and everything. Let us hoard the money. Let us accumulate the wealth and get the fuck out of here. Where you can't afford a seat on the ship
Mars.
that's going there. I can't afford it. None of our people can afford it. And so that's it. They're gone. They're going to be the gods of the new world.
I don't know if you remember say anything. He's like, man, you're bringing me down. No, you're not. You're not. Okay.
No, I hope not.
Now let's close this out. But I wanted to ask you about futurestream.tv. I know a lot of us listening everyone's on social media and everyone's gaining to get more likes and get followers. And then in between, you see a lot of commercials, a lot of paid sponsorship. And obviously we are generating a drive towards, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, what have you. How does futurestream.tv play into something like that?
Well, that's a great question. So I have never studied, coding or, even though I'm from that area. So look, I saw YouTube and all these companies pop up in the area. Literally, YouTube is from San Mateo, the city that I grew up in and whatnot. And, but after I sold my footwear brand, I was just kind of looking around the space. I'm an entrepreneur. I like challenges. And I always really found great utility for technology, right? Technology, it's indifferent. It can either help or harm, right? It's just how we use it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I saw the beauty in technology. I saw the connection. I mean, think about if we didn't have technology during the pandemic, right? We all had to stay home. People couldn't go to the grocery stores and order food. So you can see, this is how we connected. This is how people stayed in touch. This is how people shared their grievances. And this is how people even attended funerals, right? Through Zoom and whatnot. So I can look at technology as the beast, or I can look at it as something that is here to help as well, right? Yeah. And because I understand the duality of it all, I understand that it's at my discretion. How I want to use it. So I decided to launch a platform that was in favor of the artists, right? So let's look at artists traditionally. Record deals, terrible record deals. They get the lowest amount of everyone and everything. The distributor, the platform, the label, right?
Yeah, and they're creating the content.
They're creating all the content, all their aches in this, and they get the peanuts, right? Look at Instagram, look at Facebook, right? They build a platform and we just deliver that content for free. But this costs money. Yeah, this costs money. These microphones, these cameras, laptops, everything costs. Your time, my time. But there's just an expectation that you're just supposed to upload it for free, right? And so this is programming. This is conditioning, right? And so we've been conditioned as artists and creators to just give it away.
Yeah.
In exchange for social currency, likes and follows, right? Gives us, endorphin and, certain feelings to make us feel good. But when you look at it holistically, like, I can't pay my bills with likes and follows. Yeah. So during the pandemic, I saw that. I saw D-Nice going live. I saw certain people in the culture going live and having massive audiences. And I'm like, how are they making money? This is amazing. I'm entertained. Thank you. It's making me feel good. I'm dancing in my living room, but I'm concerned that you're not getting paid. And so I was quick to move, with my co-founder Jacqueline, and who's also my wife, and we built we connected with some people that we know in the Valley, and we built this technology, FutureStream.tv, and it's really a monetized platform for live streaming. So podcasters, rappers, DJs, comedians, we've had everybody go on there and monetize their live. The difference between our platform and others is we give the creator 90% of total gross
90%.
revenue. 90%. That's not a deal you can get anywhere. You can't
It's
go
unheard of, man.
You can't go into a club and get 90%. If you're a promoter and be like, yo, I'm gonna throw a party here, I want 90%.
Wow.
You can't get a record deal that says, hey, I'm gonna do the music.
It's unheard of, man.
It's unheard of. And that's what I decided to lean into and create. So when I say creating light in dark spaces, that's what I'm talking about. I could have created a platform where I make everything. People upload it for free. I already know that. We've already seen it.
Yeah. You could have changed the whole.
But the opportunity for me was to shift the paradigm and give people an opportunity to monetize their content, pay themselves, make a living. I mean, we get emails where people are like, man, I don't want to go back to the clubs, and I don't have to anymore because what you built here.
You created a new platform,
and I'm paying my mortgage, and I got 3 kids, and this is amazing. Like, and so that's the exciting part of what we've been able to build and what we're building.
Yeah, I'm noticing that too. Even like Clubhouse is now allowing people to get paid.
That's right. The whole shift in technology is what they're calling the creator economy.
Okay.
Where creators are now seeing their value, and they're going, man, I got 1 million followers now, right?
I've been dropping all this stuff from my mouth, and I'm not getting paid now.
Not getting paid. I need to get paid. And if you're not willing to pay me, I'm going to go to this platform that's going to pay me. I'm going to go to this platform. I'm going to bring my audience, because technically a platform's a platform, but you got to bring your own audience, right?
Yeah.
You got the Room of Knowledge. This is your podcast, your content, but wherever you post it, you got to bring the audience. You got to promote it and say, hey, new episode, go to here, go to Spotify, go here, go there, download it. So why aren't you making the lion's share when you did the content and you're doing the marketing? That's what we wanted to change. And so thankfully we've had some great artists, labels, agencies jump on board, get it, managers, and so we're building a successful company, and I'm excited about that. That's all about the creators,
I'm excited about it, brother. I mean, I've been on there looking around and stuff. I'm gonna get on it. I am.
When you're ready, it's there for you, man. You've been somebody like you who's contributed so much to the culture from your radio shows and your content and the community. Like, you have so much content, data, knowledge. It's time for you to maximize that, right? To the maximum degree that you can, because it's valuable. Like what you provide for the people, man, is like so healing and uplifting and knowledgeable. It's called Room of Knowledge, And so, when you're ready, we're here. I'm here.
Man, brother, gracias for that, brother.
Of course.
I'm really humbled by that. This is beautiful. I mean, I feel like we can keep on going.
I'd love to keep on going with you, man.
What I mean?
Like it's one of the best, brothers ever, man. So
thank you, brother.
Moves, I just want to, if you allow me, just to give you your flowers, man. I know a lot of people. I've done business with a lot of people. I've shared space with celebrities to homeless people, man. You are one of the most genuine, loving, authentic people I've ever met, man. And it's my pleasure to be connected to you, to know you, and I love you for that, brother.
Thank you, man. I love you too. I hope, brother. Thank you so much, man.
For sure.
I'm going to ask you to just, share a message of hope for anyone that's listening.
I think the message of hope is to really love yourself, really find a place and space for yourself. We find places and spaces for everyone else, but until you finally can love yourself, you will never be able to love others in the way that you can. So please find that time and space for yourself. That's my message.
I don't think we can get any better than that, man. I'm Fidel Rodriguez, Javier Laval on social media.
My name at Javier Laval, Laval, palindrome spelled the same backwards and forwards. Javier Laval, and that's it across all Clubhouse, Twitter, everywhere. It's just my name.
There it is, man. This is Fidel Rodriguez, the Room of Knowledge, Adventures in Consciousness. We'll see you in the ether.
Yes.
One love.
Less.
Fidel Rodriguez, the Room of Knowledge.